Decades ago, the Italian-American Mafia ruled New York through a criminal empire. It's no secret to say that things aren't quite the same for the five families today. While this crime syndicate has adapted to keep up with modern techniques, their methods are a lot different than they were in the past. So the Gambino family may not rule New York with a reign of terror like they did when John Gotti was in charge. Today's Genovese family may not have the revolutionary mindset that Lucky Luciano once led with, but each Italian-American Mafia family is managing to operate under the radar these days in ways that you'd least expect. In today's video, we're going to take a look into the world of the Italian-American Mafia and how the five families are operating in New York today. Do they still have a strong influence in the city and expanding areas? Let's find out. But before we do, let's explore the history of the five families in New York. The Italian-American Mafia consists of five families: Gambino family, Genovese family, Bonanno family, Lucchese family, Colombo family. So, how did these families originate? Well, this story takes us back to 1931, when the Commission was formed. It was founded by Lucky Luciano after a series of power struggles in New York's criminal underworld. The Commission set the grounds for organized crime between the five families. Each family would be responsible for different operations. These criminal operations were highly profitable, but more sophisticated than street crime, like theft and robbery. One significant aspect of the Commission was how it instated the omerta. This was a code of silence between mafia members. They were never to speak on the activities or actions of other mafia members. This didn't just apply to the activity of mafia members in their own family. They also had to stay silent about other families' members. Throughout the years, these five families became very powerful and had a strong influence in New York. They were known for dominating the criminal underworld. While they acted from New York, their operations expanded throughout the U.S. They were involved in many types of criminal activity, from illegal gambling to political corruption. The five families were also able to keep a stronghold on New York using violence and intimidation tactics. These families delved out contracts to the most brutal hitmen throughout the decades. People were terrified of the consequences when it came to crossing the Italian-American Mafia. However, the five families' power structure significantly changed in the 1980s when the FBI began one of the biggest mafia crackdowns in history. In 1983, a wiretapped conversation was recorded of Colombo family mobster Ralph Scopo extorting money from contractors. This tipped off an investigation that led to the Mafia Commission trial. A total of 12 leaders from the five families, bosses and their subordinates, were brought to trial. This was only the beginning of the FBI's pursuit to shake down the Italian-American Mafia. Throughout the decades, law enforcement has strengthened its measures to weaken organized crime and its impact in New York. Several investigations have shaken these criminal empires to their core. One of the biggest crackdowns happened on January 20, 2011, when 700 agents from the FBI, DEA, and Secret Service went widespread and captured 127 mobsters connected to the five families and other crime families operating in the U.S. Known as Mafia Takedown Day, it's now known as the biggest sweep in American mafia history. How do modern-day mobsters keep operations going? We can only imagine how challenging it is for them with law enforcement steadily on their trails. One thing that current Italian-American Mafia members do is stay out of the public eye. They have shifted away from the high-profile activities of the past, like labor infiltration and extortion. Instead, modern Mafia members choose low-key activities, like money laundering or smuggling operations. These operations draw less attention. Another way the Mafia has changed to adapt to modern times is by avoiding violence and brutal tactics. They have become smarter about how they intimidate people. Mafia members and associates aren't disappearing at the rate they used to. Hitmen and other violent crimes draw too much attention to the five families and their illegal activities. They are more cunning in how they intimidate people now. Instead of torture and murder, they get what they want through financial pressure, like threatening to destroy a business or its reputation. Cyber intimidation is also more common, as mobsters can extort people with threats of hacking or identity theft. Of course, it's important to remember that the five families are very secretive about their operations. How they have adapted to the modern criminal underworld is mainly speculation. One supposed way they have continued building their empire is through legal enterprises. This is when they invest in a legitimate business, only that business is used as a front for other not-so-legal activities, such as money laundering or narcotics operations. The families are also believed to have adapted to the digital age of crime. They have connected with IT experts to infiltrate the World Wide Web. They can intimidate major brands and organizations through cybercrime, allowing them to target victims anywhere in the world. They can do anything from taking funds, leaking company information and private data, and stealing documents. For the next part of this video, we're going to explore some of the key ways the five families make money today. Did you know that illegal gambling is still a prominent way for the mafia to make money in New York? Okay, so underground casinos and poker games are not like they were 60 years ago. But the massive market of sports fans in the area has made New York the prime spot for underground sports betting, offering higher wagering opportunities than most casinos allow. But these high-stakes bets come with much higher consequences, especially for people who cannot pay up. Loan sharking is also still believed to be prominent with the New York Mafia today. Mobsters know their targets well and who they can take advantage of. They target small business owners who are on their last straw with no other options. They take advantage of businesses that are unable to secure legal loans and provide loans with high interest and extreme consequences if it's not paid back in time. It's also believed that the mafia is still heavy on extorting businesses, such as making threats for extortion money. The Gambino family and other American mafias are still believed to be involved in the drug trade. While drug trafficking has been a part of mafia history for decades, modern families are leaning towards other operations. Counterfeit goods are becoming more common. This goes back to the legitimate businesses we were discussing earlier. They move the goods like counterfeit designer clothing, jewelry, electronics, tobacco, and other products through the legitimate business and sell them for profit. This has been a profitable venture that's also more difficult for law enforcement to track. While the mafia may keep a low profile with their activities today, it's not low enough to keep law enforcement off their tail. Throughout the years, there have been many notable arrests linking back to the five families. Operation Fistful was an investigation into a money laundering and racketeering scheme that led to the arrests of 11 alleged Genovese members in 2014. But this wasn't the end of the operation. In 2019, 6 additional men were arrested for a multi-million-dollar scheme involving illegal loan sharking, money laundering, and other crimes. The investigation uncovered that the revenue from these schemes was going to Genovese associates, and all involved were under the family's hierarchy. In 2021, the Colombo family became the center of media attention. 14 people were arrested for extorting a construction labor union. The extortion scheme went on for 20 years. 10 of the people charged in the case were from the Colombo family. One in particular was the 87-year-old alleged boss, Andrew Mush Russo. Even the oldest mafia bosses won't get a free pass from the law. One of the more recent cases was back in 2023, when 10 alleged Gambino members were arrested for their participation in a racketeering scheme. There was a 16-count indictment, which included crimes of extortion, conspiracy, and witness retaliation in an attempt to take over a garbage hauling business. Their extortion methods became violent, too. One man was attacked with a hammer to send a message to his boss at the company. Another was threatened with a baseball bat when he was late on a payment. There were also incidents of mobsters setting employees' property on fire and damaging personal vehicles. While criminal underworld operations are still at large, law enforcement continues to monitor the five families, causing disruption in their criminal activities from time to time. Okay, so we just covered some of the cases of mafia takedowns in more recent years, but those are minor in scale because of how large these criminal empires are. So how do recent mafia members avoid law enforcement? While this isn't a foolproof method, their best strategy is to learn from the mistakes of the past. Let's take the lifestyle, for example. When you think of the Italian-American Mafia, there is a specific style associated with it. Think flashy suits, eye-catching jewelry, luxury cars, and extravagant mansions, attending the hottest events and spending money like they had a never-ending supply. Today, Mafia members realize how much attention that type of lifestyle attracts. Their goal is to attract as little attention as possible, so they lead a lifestyle that matches one their cover business would fund. Mafia members also have to be careful with how they interact with one another. Bugged locations, wiretaps, and recorded phone calls have led to the arrest of iconic mobsters throughout history. It's likely that five family members today rely on burner phones, encrypted messaging apps, and face-to-face encounters in new and different locations to discuss operations. On top of revolutionizing their strategies, modern mafia families still honor the ways of the past. The omerta is still a key element of the five families today. They operate secretly in the shadows and remain silent about what goes on in the underworld, even if a rival is at large. But as much as the mafia reinvents their law enforcement evasion techniques, they will never be 100% foolproof. The NYPD, DEA, and FBI are always improving their monitoring techniques. Their operations are leading to larger crackdowns, making it difficult for these crime families to remain in the shadows. As mafia enthusiasts, we love to hear and share theories about these crime groups, especially when it comes to the Cosa Nostra. A lot of people wonder what will happen with the five families in the future. Will law enforcement wipe them out? Or is there a mafia resurgence on the rise? Let's delve into some possible theories. The first theory is a resurgence. Could the five families make a comeback, stronger and more influential than ever before? There are a few reasons why people believe this could be possible. The first is through cybercrime. With the right IT experts on their side, they can use schemes and hacking to extort anybody from anywhere. Even mafia members in hiding can use the internet to extort people, keeping the flow of wealth coming in. Another reason there could be a resurgence is by creating a trafficking network involving international crime syndicates, like Mexican drug cartels, Albanian mafias, and Asian gangs, just to name a few. But another theory is a further decline of mafia activity. Those criminal groups we just mentioned as possible partners in crime, well, they could also be the Italian-American Mafia's biggest competition. It's highly likely that these groups don't want to see the Cosa Nostra have the same level of power it once did. They could wipe out these crime families and take over their territories. Furthermore, law enforcement could also lead to the decline of the Italian-American Mafia. Joint collaborations and advancements in technology have only improved the success of operations. As more takedowns lead to the arrest of Italian-American Mafia members, it's possible these families could diminish. The new generation of the five family members plays a key role in whether or not this syndicate survives the next decade. Have they cut back on criminal operations, or are they just stealthier at hiding? The allure of the New York Mafia families has played a significant role in pop culture. There have been various TV series and movies covering the myths and legends of Cosa Nostra. However, in the movies, the Mafia is always glamorized. The audience gets a peek into the world of designer fashion, extravagant decor, and parties that they could only dream of attending. But what these movies rarely show is the gritty underworld that makes this fantasy world a reality. Whether the Italian-American Mafia rises back to power or makes a full decline, we believe they will still hold a strong influence in American culture. People will study the infamous crimes and mafia disappearances from the past. Enthusiasts will debate their theories of the most notorious unsolved crimes, and new TV series and movies will shed light on mobsters who made an impact. The Italian-American Mafia once had New York's criminal underworld in a stronghold. Their impact was legendary and still remains untouched to this day. While the five families are still believed to be operating in New York today, their impact is nowhere near the level it was before the Mafia Commission trials in 1985. Today, Mafia members keep a low profile to avoid being the focus of a criminal investigation. One notable difference between the Cosa Nostra today compared to the past is the level of violence. Mafia murders and disappearances are very rare in 2024. After all, they know how much attention these crimes bring to their crews. When they need to intimidate someone, they get craftier about their methods. The future of the Italian-American Mafia is up in the air. Do you think the five families will eventually fade away? Or do you think it's possible for them to make a resurgence? We want to know what your predictions and theories are. Leave a comment to fill us in on your thoughts. That's all for today. Thank you so much for sticking with us to the end of our video. We could discuss Cosa Nostra stories all day long. If you're interested in seeing more videos on the Italian Mafia, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe to see more Mafia Mystique content.